What is up, La Familia? JJ back here with Holden. Sunday, February the 28th, talking college basketball. Kept it clean there, Holden, for us. Changed it up, right? La Familia, keeping it classy.
Yeah, nothing like dropping one of the most dangerous Latin gangs in the world right off the bat. Good job, JJ. We're off to a fine start, buddy. Draft dicks and gangbangers. Way to go.
It's always got to go there. You see, it's always got to go. But
you asked me how that went. I'm telling you, you started with that. So please go on. College basketball.
Coming off a 1-1 week. But look, we're still 3-1 on the show. Ultimately, we're only through 2 weeks. Next week's actually the last week, I believe. We have a full slate, or at least a semi-full slate. Because then conference tournaments start, and then let the madness begin. For this slate, though, we'll talk on Ohio State, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan State, and Cincinnati, Memphis. My best bet's going to be in the Cincy-Memphis game. Holden's best bet, I believe, is in the Ohio State-Iowa game. Is that correct?
Don't speak for me, JJ. Yeah. I ran it past you this morning.
By the way, I prefer this version of you that's just the constant, negative, look for the worst scenario out of everything. I prefer that version of Holden.
Yes, whatever your question was, that's exactly what it was. Oh, we are 3-1 on the show. He's 2-0 and I'm 1-1. My bet got just absolutely kicked in the ass last week. So let's try and bounce back, Holden.
Yeah, but it's the Big Ten. It's not like you're going to go back to the Big Ten this week, right?
Yeah, I absolutely am going back to the Big Ten for the third time on this show. I mean, why not, man? Let's play some roulette today. It's always fun.
All right. So which one of these games starts first? Memphis. So Memphis Cincinnati starts, and that's the game I like.
Yeah, talk to me about this Memphis Cincinnati game. So I'm seeing the spread. You got a little bit of 4. You got mostly 4.5 at this point. What do you like about it? Why do you like Cincinnati?
Yeah, so Cincinnati's definitely the spot I'm on here. Now, what's interesting is I know you're saying you're seeing 4s, 4.5s. I see a lot of 3.5 now. And I know I gave this out last night to our guys at 4.5. I'm even seeing some 3.
Oh my God, really? You know what happened? Let me tell you what happened too. Yeah, now I'm seeing 3.5. This thing just moved because it was at 4. It was at 4 this morning, and now I'm seeing some places at 3.5. What happened to Sports Insights? Is it my computer that just doesn't work? Like I can't get the live lines there anymore.
Yeah, I don't think that site's having some minor issues, at least relative to college basketball. It's not just you.
Anyways,
so Cincy has been a team, obviously, on these shows. You guys might not have seen that I've targeted this team quite a bit over the last few weeks. I know that technically I targeted against them last week. So when I say target them, I've been involved in a lot of Cincinnati games recently. It's a team I feel like I have a pretty good read on. First of all, this is a team that's won 7 of 8, 6 of 7. Okay, their one loss was the disastrous loss against Houston, which was a game where we targeted Houston's team total. You won't be fortunate enough to hit a team total at 74.5 with 12 minutes left in the game often, but was happy to kind of nail that last week. This spot though, with this game will be a little different. This pace is going to play much quicker. Memphis likes to run, Cincy likes to run. The American Athletic doesn't have a lot of teams that run up and down the floor. These two teams are by far the quickest tempos in this conference. But Memphis, to their credit under Hardaway, plays tremendous defense. Now, I wouldn't even say they're even close to smoke and mirrors because this team, it is very difficult to throw up a 70 burger against this team. Now I see this total at 140, which would imply that Memphis is going to throw up 70-ish, over 70, and Cincinnati is going to get close to 70. So I didn't want to touch the total too much because you look up and down Memphis's box scores. This is not a team that gets in many shootouts at all. But then again, they don't play with a lot of teams that run like Cincinnati is going to run. The thing with me, specifically with Cincinnati and in this spot grabbing the 4.5, is they just played really good, especially at home. Okay, they haven't lost a conference game this season by more than 4.5, by more than 4 points this year. They're just a much more polished home team. Now, under John Brennan, the Northern Kentucky ex-head coach, this team's offense is starting to figure itself out. Remember, this team had about a month of a COVID break, and prior to that, they seemingly couldn't get out of their own way. It almost like, ironically enough, the COVID break almost fixed this team's issues. They've only lost 1 game since, and again, that was to Houston. Now, Memphis here is definitely going to push them, but I do think that Cincinnati, especially what I've seen recently against Tulsa and Tulane, 2 good defenses, certainly above average defenses in the half court. Cincinnati was getting up a lot of quick shots early in the shot clock. The best look they could get, especially Davenport. This team is just firing especially from long range. I expect something similar against Memphis. They're not going to want to let Memphis set up their half-court defense too often, and they're going to run with Memphis as well. And look, Cincinnati's a very underrated defense. I've said this quite a bit now. I know Houston was able to take advantage of them last Sunday, but overall against these, we'll call them not top 4 teams in the country, this team's very stout defensively, which is kind of why I don't want to bet the over, even though Cincinnati has just been an over machine over their last games. Now, that's what's interesting here is Memphis has been an under machine. Cincinnati's been an over machine. So those kind of worlds are colliding in this game. Memphis, though, specifically on the road, not exactly what they've been at home. Now, sure, Memphis has won 4 straight at home. They did lose to SMU on the road. They do blow out East Carolina, but a lot of teams in this conference end up doing good work to East Carolina for the most part. Then they lose to Tulsa on the road. They squeak out a win against Tulane. But for the most part, this defense specifically looks different out of their gym. And overall, I just think that Cincinnati, they have some issues here, which could become a problem. The turnovers could become a big issue. But they've kind of cleaned this up a bit recently. So overall, I love the fact that I can get 4.5 here, or I know it's 3.5 now. If you have 3.5, I guess that's fine for this video. But I do like the fact that I'm getting 2 teams that are playing really well. Cincinnati's playing just as good, I'd argue, as Memphis, and I'm getting 4.5 at home. So I like the Bearcats here catching 4.5.
Yeah, so I just went through it. I saw 4 and mostly 3.5. So you're fine even at 3.5.
Yeah. So this was a spot where I actually debated on jumping on Cincy on the money line. I just didn't end up wanting to pull the trigger, especially because I figured in a game like this, wire to wire, if Memphis starts out good, I'd probably be able to get a better money line price on Cincy. Mm-hmm. This is just a team that's stout. They win close games. And again, they got some of their better players playing their best ball of the year right now. I already mentioned Jeremiah Davenport. Keith Williams, their best player. He hasn't been playing all that well. But, one of these games, he's going to get back on track. David DeJulius has also been playing really well. They just have a lot of guys that have been scoring better. And I think it goes more to the fact of how good they've been from an assist per field goal perspective. And again, this is really what John Brennan has done in Northern Kentucky. Northern Kentucky with the better ball movement. This team's been getting better as the season's gone along. I think they get a bunch of easy baskets. I think they're going to struggle to get good looks in the half court, but I do think they're also going to get a bunch of easy baskets in transition. Overall, I like the spot with Cincy.
All right, here we go. I'm seeing it right now. Cincy +4. So Cincy +4 on DraftKings, BetMGM, and PointsBet have them 3.5. So DraftKings is probably the place to hit that bet right now. Good morning, everybody, by the way. Everybody say, is it morning? It's not morning on the East Coast anymore. It's freaking time zone out here in the mountain is just ridiculous. Ronnie, Rob, James, Jim, Adrian, Jerry. What's up, Jerry? Fear Nothing, Gregory, Princess, and Ramon.
See, Jerry's giving you the Sports Grid shout out.
I don't want to bring up anywhere else I work with this. This is my main gig.
Jerry's here following.
Thanks for watching, Jerry. That's fine. But, we're running pure here. We don't mess with that. We don't mess with anything.
That's a good point, Tim, on DeJulius. I was looking through some rosters, just reading off some names. But you're right. He did opt out for the season. I realized that right when I said it.
Any dates with millennials? Yes. Last week.
There are a lot of people that come here for that information, Holden.
Well, I usually save it for the end. And last week I did not do it, and I did not give any picks. I told you this. Whether you consider it sad or not. I live vicariously through you these days. This is the life I live. How detailed do I need to get about my latest experience with a millennial? You let me know. You ask me a question, I'll answer. If not, we'll get back to hoops.
What was I going to say? So ultimately, assuming we talk hoops, the next
how he went over that, he's like, no, I don't want that. Let's go back to college.
Well, I guess my question is do we have the awkward silence where we just wait for 30 seconds for them to put something in, or do we just act like we're going to start talking more about college basketball?
Yeah. Well, Leonard wants to go to the games. He's like, I don't want to hear about the millennials. You know what, Leonard? Let's do it, buddy. Is he a paying customer? Leonard, are you a?
Leonard is. Leonard's
okay, that's it. Leonard, I'll tell my tales of ribaldry at the end of the game or at the end of the show. Which game do we want to go to? You want to do Michigan State, Maryland?
Yeah, let's
hold on. I thought we hate the Big Ten. You hate the Big Ten. Do you still want to talk about it?
Yeah, but you see, on this show, we basically take the 3 biggest highly rated KenPom games, and we talk about them, right? Because ultimately, I assume that's what people want to bet. So try to give them some breakdowns there, and then I force you to make a Big Ten pick, which is always fun.
So let's get into it, dude.
Yeah, so Michigan
I see
State
it at Maryland -2.5 still. What do you got?
Yeah, so let me just confirm. That does look correct. Yeah, so not a whole lot of movement. I think this opened 3. KenPom's got it 5, so clearly an extra amount of respect getting given to Michigan State, and deservedly so, right? This team in Michigan State comes off wins against Illinois and Ohio State back to back, and of course Indiana on the road wasn't a bad win either. So this team's kind of figuring it out, and talking on assists per field goals made as I did with Cincinnati. I mean, Michigan State team's the second best team in the country. Now you don't expect that to be any worse, with a Tom Izzo led team. But this is a team that's kind of creeping their way back into, bracket talk. I mean, right? This team was truly on the outside looking in, but they keep piling up these big wins. And by the way, they play Michigan twice at the end of the year. The end of the year, the next week. That'll probably decide, whether or not they make they squeak out one of those wins in the 2 games versus Michigan. I mean, you're talking, they're definitely going to be in. At that point, they would have beaten, Michigan, Ohio State, and Illinois in about a week and a half span. So they would definitely end up finding their way in regardless. But coming into this game, so it's on the road. It's a Big Ten game on the road. Maryland's much better at home. This is the team. I know they have a few home losses, but for the most part, this team is pretty stout at home. Now they come off the Rutgers win last week. So it's been a full week since they've played. But from a matchup perspective, first of all, you really, in my opinion, really need to be grabbing your balls to step in front of this Michigan State team. I mean, would you disagree? I mean, even if we said this line was, a borderline pick, sure, there'd be more value on Maryland, but this Michigan State team, they almost remind me of, so for instance, and I hate to jump off a tangent here, but the Baylor team I watched last night was not the Baylor team I've watched the last, call it 2 months of the season, 3 months of the season. They just looked different. They almost looked like they were in quicksand. It just sure, give credit to Kansas. They won the game. They won pretty, and I don't say handedly, but they won the game. But this was not the Baylor team I'm used to seeing, especially on the defensive end. Now, sure, this team can shoot themselves out of any jam in Baylor, but they did not look like themselves. Now, contrary to that, Michigan State over their last 3 games has not looked like the Michigan State team I've seen all year. This team just looks completely different. Shooters hitting open jumpers, ball movement. Their ball movement's been super impressive on the offensive end, and on the defensive end, forcing a ton of tough shots, really slowing the game down. So overall, it's really tough to take Michigan State's body of work and come into this game. For me, it's really looking at their last few games because this is the team I'd expect to see, which is why I think it's very difficult for you to want to fade Michigan State in this spot. But numbers-wise, sure, maybe not the most value on Michigan State, but look, good luck stepping in front of this train right now. There's a lot of, I'm trying to say, these two meet at some point this year?
Well, here, let me just, while you're looking at, I mean, they beat Indiana, then they beat Illinois, then they beat Ohio State. They beat the 5 team and the 4 team in the nation. They made the tournament what was it? 20, at least 23 years, maybe 24 years in a row. This is must-win territory for them. They got to run it down. They got to get going. And I think when I look at what I see from Maryland, I'm still not sold on this team. I still think there's a little too much heckle and jekyll for me. You made the point that they're good at home. That's fine. But this is not Michigan State from earlier in the year. Just a lot of these blue bloods. They're playing great basketball now. Now, listen, I'm a Kansas grad, so I watched them beat Baylor last night. It was awesome. Almost wore my winter hat today. Wanted to look more professional for you. So I didn't. But Baylor was coming off the COVID thing too. Kansas played great, but Kansas starting to play better. Duke's playing better. North Carolina, Kentucky. I mean, all these teams are starting to come along. Why not Michigan State at this point? Great coach. Good roster.
Yeah, and they're getting hot at the right time of the year. I guess the only thing you concern yourself is after a few big wins like that, do they have a potential letdown coming? But I'll tell you what, I'd argue that Maryland's a team that also has a letdown coming. This team, they played a really good game at Rutgers last week. They win. They beat Nebraska twice. They beat Minnesota twice. Now they're going to play in what should be a very competitive game against Michigan State. Now, the one thing as far as the matchup goes for how these two break down, they have not played yet this year. But obviously, both teams don't force turnovers at all. So you wouldn't expect there to be a whole lot of them today. On the offensive glass, Michigan State's really good, but Maryland's really good at defending it. Overall, you can't really poke out a few different perspectives that make a lot of sense to lean one way or the other. But I will say this, that Maryland tends to live and die with the three at times. And one of the best parts of Michigan State's defense is defending the three, especially recently over the stretch against good teams. So look, if Maryland shoots the eyes out of the gym today, especially from beyond the arc, they probably win this game. But teams just haven't been able to do that, especially elite teams haven't been able to do it against Michigan State recently. So look, for me, if I'm looking for a lean, I'd lean Michigan State plus the points just because this is not a team I'm going to step in front of right now. As far as value goes, maybe some value on Maryland, maybe some value on taking a home team in the Big Ten. But there's a reason why I'm avoiding this game and Holden's avoiding this game. It's primarily because there's a lot of variance to me. You got two teams playing, really well. Michigan State's playing their best ball of the year. Arguably, they're playing some of the best ball in the country right now. So not a team I want to step in front of. But overall, Holden, any leans or any looks for this game at all?
No, you'd have to be a complete idiot to bet on the Big Ten right now. And this,
like with that said, let's talk about my Ohio State play.
Yeah, let's talk about my Ohio State play. No. I mean, listen, it was a great breakdown. I'm not sold on Maryland. I think I don't even remember what my bet was last week. It might have been Maryland. Did Maryland burn me or
it was?
I don't know. Huh?
It was Rutgers.
Oh, Rutgers burned me? Screw Jersey. What? I mean, who the hell would live there too? What a disgusting, horrible place filled by DuPont chemicals.
What a shithole is New Jersey.
What a shithole Jersey is. Heard you got some nice farms out there in the western part of the state with some blueberries and some cows and stuff. But yeah. So you ready for me to get to my pick today?
I'm you can't tell, but underneath the desk here, rock hard, waiting for this breakdown.
Like a giraffe?
No, actually quite the opposite. Definitely more like a field mouse.
All right, so here's my deal. I have actually been successful betting against Iowa this year. I was surprised that when I looked at the season stats, like Ohio State has 10 point something turnovers per game, and Iowa's under 10 at 9.7. But when I've targeted Iowa, these are the games where they turn the ball over a ton. They've given up 9, 13, 11 over these last 3 games. They don't have Nunji. Their first player off the bench here. They're number 4. He's injured. He's done for the year, as a matter of fact. 6'11", 7 points, 5 rebounds a game. You also they got some good news. Connor McCaffrey's going to play. He twisted his ankle in the last game. For Ohio State, listen, I'm not throwing them down a notch or two because of these losses. I mean, Michigan is a team that is a number 1 seed too. And then you've got Michigan State, who we just broke down. This is a team that comes in and just, has been mowing down people at this point. So I looked at this. This is more a play against Iowa when they're playing a really good team. I'm just not sold. I think McCaffrey's fine as a coach. I've seen too many times this team down. They don't bother shooting threes. He doesn't bother fouling. I mean, it really is. It's like a carnival of errors sometimes watching McCaffrey coach. So this is going to be my play here. I saw Maryland. I saw Ohio State -3 this morning. It was 2.5 when I got in. You can get in at 3. JJ, let's talk this out though, because I told you I was doing it. And I said, you're like, what are you doing? What are you going back there for? But you told me it might be more comfortable going with that first half spread, which is Ohio State -1. So tell me why you think that might be a better look than the full game look. And by the way, I bet both first half and the full game.
Yeah. So for one thing, Ken Pom absolutely loves this Iowa team. The problem is like you said, when you watch this team, they're very much star dependent on Garza. But the thing is that he's, arguably the best college player in the country. Now, he's not going to be obviously the best NBA prospect coming into this draft, or shouldn't be anyway. Cade Cunningham's just unreal. But as far as like in game, he's probably the best player in the country. The problem is that, and as you noted, when this team in Iowa plays elite teams, head scratching things begin to happen, right? So they lose to Illinois, they lose to Ohio State, they lose to Michigan, they lose to Gonzaga. Now, sure, you'd argue, okay, well, most of those games, all 3 of them were on the road. No, Ohio State, they got beat at home, and obviously now coming back here on the road. That was a very fun game to watch, though, the Ohio State game that first time around. The problem is, like, they only have 1 win against a team that's in the top 25 as per Ken Pom, which was against Wisconsin, which I'd argue was more of an anomaly than anything. So it's just these weird things happen against good teams. Now, I don't know if it's maybe correlated to good defenses or like elite defenses, but they have been very difficult to watch. Now, this team moves the ball really well. It's probably why KenPom has the number so high on them. 7th best in the country, assists per field goals made. But Ohio State is definitely a team that can keep pace with them offensively. Ohio State is just such a balanced team, much better on the offensive end, but they're still above average defensively. Overall, I think with Iowa, they tend to get a little 3-point happy. Don't get me wrong, they're one of the best in the country at shooting it. But again, against these elite teams, they just don't seem to shoot it nearly as well. And obviously so right against better defenses. Ohio State tends to do a lot of their damage from the free throw line. This team gets almost 23% of their total points per game from the charity stripe. Iowa doesn't really foul. Now I'm trying to see if the first game, how they called it, but assuming they called this game to be more physical and they don't, call every, ticky-tack foul, it could neutralize Ohio State's ability to get to the free throw line. But I'm just trying to see overall in the first time they met. Yeah,
just real quick, while you're looking that up, go look that up because Fear Nothing says Iowa's no good on the road. Aren't they in Ohio today? Yeah, it's a road game for them. I'll just run this down for you. At Michigan, they got blown out in their last game. Fine. At Wisconsin, they won that one big time by 15 points. At Michigan State, that was like the 30-point victory for them. So they lost at Indiana. They lost at Illinois. I'm not looking into that quite as much. I'm sure the spread was baked into that number anyways, but this is just a Jekyll and Hyde team. So they played better as of late. They had won 4 in a row, and then they got their asses kicked by Michigan. So not that much. I didn't take that much into account because I already think it was in the spread. So what'd you find?
Yeah, so they only called 13 fouls in that first game, but Iowa State still was able to pull it out and win with pretty good shooting overall. Now, granted, that's what you expect from a good offense, what you expect from 2 good offenses. The total of this game, is it still in the high 150s or low 160s?
I saw it at 156.
Wow, this thing has seen some tremendous movement. Last night it was 161.5. I know I saw it at 161.5 at some spots. So this thing has seen some tremendous steam down. So by the way, if you're somebody who's like, yeah, I want to bet the under in this game, do not do that. Not to get me wrong, it could happen, but you're talking a line that was literally 5 points higher last night. So if anything, maybe try to in-game it if they start quick, or look, just pass. Ultimately, a game like this where the line moves that much, you're just losing value. Don't get me wrong, think about how tilted you'd be if this game lands 157, 158. You lose your bet, but everybody who bet it early won. But yeah, I think we get another good offensive performance from both. The problem is that late in the season here, you'd expect better defensive performance. Maybe a lot of possessions get driven down late. And again, it really depends how the refs call this game. If they don't call this as ticky tack, there's almost no way this thing gets this high. But ultimately, as who was it stated? Fear Nothing stated. Most Big Ten teams on the road this year, they have struggled, right? So Iowa, it's not like Iowa's terrible for, oh my God, Iowa can't win on the road. This has been it's been the issue with a lot of Big Ten teams this year. But believe it or not, look at who their road losses have been against. Indiana, Illinois, Minnesota in overtime early in the year, and they lose against Michigan. So it's not like they have terrible road losses. But yes, I agree. Ohio State being home makes a decent difference here. And it's a small line, but so ultimately, Holden, you're on the Buckeyes, right?
I'm on the Buckeyes, right?
Okay. Yeah. Now, would you prefer full game versus first half?
Since the full game is my pick, I should probably go full first half. But I'll take Ohio State first half and full game.
Wow.
That's how I feel.
Splitting the bets.
That's how I feel about. That's how good I feel about Ohio State today, and how bad I cannot stand Iowa. I just think, again, you can bet on the eye test still. It's okay to bet on the eye test still. There's very good bettors that do that. And guess what? Before KenPom came out, there were guys that were hitting like 58, 60%, 55% on college basketball too. So, I've just seen too much Iowa this year. Maybe that's to my fault, but I'll take Ohio State -2.5 and -1 in the first half. It's up to 3 now. So
now because I've been saying this for the last few weeks now, I think there's a very realistic possibility, depending how the seeding works out, that we see 8 Big Ten teams in the Sweet 16.
In the Sweet 16, half of the teams are from one conference.
It depends how the matchups break down as far as
I don't know about
because ultimately because if a few Big Ten teams meet in the 32, then it can't happen regardless. But I did this conference. This conference has been so good this year, and it could be more because the conferences around them haven't been as good. Mm-hmm. This conference has been so good this year. I'm not sitting here saying 100% grab my nuts. There's going to be 8 Big Ten teams in the Sweet 16, but I think there's a lot of teams. There's a lot of teams that are going to have high seeds in the Big Ten, and they should have borderline cakewalks into the Sweet 16. And it's going to be a few of your 50-50 matchups in the round of 32 that will determine whether more than the 4 or 5 teams get in.
I think there's going to be 3 or 4 Big 12 teams that make it to the Sweet 16. So I think, what are we looking at? We're looking at Big 10, Big 12, and then sprinkle in some Gonzaga and maybe some Bama and some Villanova. Is that what we're looking at right now? I mean,
is it crazy? Like, think about this, Holden. So 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So right now they have Michigan State ranked 9th in the Big Ten, right? Mm-hmm. So if they continue to play well, right, you would argue they're going to be a team nobody wants to play, right? Mm-hmm. Rutgers, Maryland ranked right above them. Is it crazy to think Wisconsin gets into the Sweet 16? I don't think so. Purdue, Sweet 16? I'd argue you would think they should get into the Sweet 16. And then above them, who? Iowa, Ohio State, Illinois, Michigan. I mean, this conference is just stacked. I didn't even mention Indiana, who's had a relatively good season. I mean, I know they're 12-12, but I mean, this has been a team that's had a good season, and very good or above average team, especially based on their record. I don't think it's. Well, I guess what I'm getting at is I don't think it's nuts. I don't think it's as crazy as you would think. I think anybody hears that normally it's like, geez, eight, one to half a conference or half of the Sweet 16 from one conference. But Big Ten this year has been very tough. And again, I don't know if it's more or less because the conferences around them haven't been as good. But I've watched a decent amount of Big Ten basketball this year. It's a lot of high quality basketball.
Yeah, it seems like we get into the tournament and the Big 12 kind of flames out. But look at the teams here. Let's go top 18. And Kansas is going to move up quite a bit. We got Texas Tech, Kansas, right? We got then we move to West Virginia at 10, Oklahoma at 7, Baylor at 2. I mean, there's 5 teams right there. I think that they can get 7 in there. We'll see how it breaks down. But to me, those are the 2 conferences that are really going to dominate when we get into the tournament, I think, as far as just numbers of teams in there. And there's going to be some mediocre teams as well that, we probably say shouldn't belong in there. It's just been an odd year. But I hear what you're saying. You wonder if these guys just beat the shit out of each other so much and then they start facing new competition, whether or not, they hang on to that. But don't we have a conference tournament starting this week too?
Not in the Big Ten, I don't think.
No, not the Big Ten, but I think the little ones.
A few mid-majors start this week.
Yeah, so we had a whole bunch of them. We had a whole bunch of games postponed today. But I think, these mid-majors, because we're in March already, aren't we? Like tomorrow. Isn't tomorrow March?
Tomorrow is the month of March.
Holy moly, man. We're getting to where we need to be. This is kind of nice. I'm excited about this. We'll have some fans in the stands. But yeah, we got little conference tournaments starting up next week. And those are fun too, JJ. I love those, man. I actually kind of enjoy those more than the big ones. The big ones I don't care about as much because a lot of those teams are already going to the tournament. These little guys, they got to win or their season's over or they got to play in the NIT. Which could have some blue bloods this year, huh?
Yeah, it definitely could. My favorite part about those mid-majors is a team that's maybe dominated all year long, that plays a team that just kind of gets hot late and more or less knocks them out of the tournament because, and I guess that's kind of the sad part, right? Is a team that's played really well in a mid-major all year loses their conference tournament, and now all of a sudden they're crossing their fingers come Selection Sunday. But overall, looking forward to some of these mid-majors. I'm not sure which ones specifically start this week, but 100% some of these tournaments start this week.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. The NCAA website, not great. Let's see here. We got the America East.
Yeah, the American East starts today.
Or yesterday. It started yesterday, I guess. Yes. We got then we got the A10, which, by the way, I've been to a couple of A10 tournaments. I love the A10 tournament. The A-Sun is next week. So that's 3 already that we got. Later next week is the CAA. Did you know that the Horizon League already had their first round a couple of days ago?
No, I didn't.
No, I was not aware of that. Quarterfinals coming up March 2nd, Missouri Valley. I mean, next week is like mid-major week. That's what we got. Ohio Valley, Patriot League.
Yeah, you're gonna get all the games early.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome, dude. Summit League, Sun Belt, West Coast. The West Coast Conference starts on the 4th. So yeah, we got like a lot of college basketball tournaments this week. I thought we had one or two, but I didn't know we had as many as we did. So a lot of them start later in the week, but this is exciting.
Now, Leonard, you had mentioned liking Army -4 today. His team has split back-to-back games with every opponent this year except one. Now, what I find so interesting is this year more than ever, these teams that lose these back-to-backs or win these back-to-backs, a lot of what the back-to-backs you're looking at with that Army schedule, for the most part, have been like win-lose against different teams. Ultimately, they didn't play their best game against Boston, and they beat them twice earlier in the year. You would expect them to bounce back. I've just seen more this year than ever, and I think it has more to do with how teams are playing coming into games. Because I think we mentioned this last week, Holden, that this year more than ever, teams played back-to-back the same team, based on COVID scheduling and travel, than they've ever had to do. Most of the time you play a team maybe earlier in your conference schedule, and then you play them later in your conference schedule, or in the middle and the end, or beginning and middle. It's been a lot of back-to-backs. I think you catch a team not in great form, and you can beat them twice because of it. So ultimately, I haven't dug too much into that game, but I from a value perspective, Army makes sense, especially since they lost yesterday pretty bad. This is a team they've already beaten twice, so you'd expect them to bounce back. I can't mind that look at all, Leonard.
Steve, I know about Oral Roberts because that's where Bill Self came from, buddy. There you go there, pal. Shout out to everybody saying nice things about us today, like Jerry Spoto, who likes the show. That's so nice, man. Any other questions you guys want to get in there? That'd be great. Ron said he had the Nova team total under 71.5, and it's going nicely right now, so that's good. Any other games you wanted to look at here that you wanted to break down that are kind of on the tip of your tongue?
The only one I would say that probably could hold some relevance, I mean, I guess Nevada, Utah State, I know they just played, maybe still some value on Nevada, who basically, for the most part, went toe-to-toe with Utah State, despite Utah State blowing out to a big lead early in that game. The pace played pretty slow in that one. Both teams just shot relatively well. So, maybe talk about some value on the under. I'm not sure what that number is now. Is it still 141? Maybe it's a little higher.
I had it at 141, yeah.
Yeah, so it's still 141.5. Maybe some value there in the under. I don't love it, though. It would probably be a spot I'd prefer to in-game if they start fast. So USF plus 17. Here's the problem for me with any time Houston plays a team they're much better than. For the most part, this team just blows out teams that they are much better than. And for me, they come off a few big wins, so maybe this is your typical letdown spot for a team like Houston that really doesn't have much to play for in this game, and then, finishes the season out with Houston. So I get the perspective of grabbing points with South Florida just based on a motivation end for Houston. But this Houston team lost a few games they certainly should not have this year. So they really should not be unmotivated to keep winning games, especially handedly. South Florida's team, they beat by 17 on the road very recently. And I'm just trying to briefly look through the box score. It does look like South Florida sped this team up a bit.
Any foul trouble?
No, I mean, for the most part, don't get me wrong, Houston got called for a few extra fouls than they normally do. They shot terrible from the free throw line. Here's the thing, Houston beat this team on the road by 17. They shot 32% from three. They shot 50% from the line. And they still beat this team by 17 on the road. And they got outscored by South Florida in the last 10 minutes. Yeah, I mean, look, it could happen. For me, it's all motivation with Houston if they take this game. It's really why I avoided this game from my end. But if Houston doesn't take this game lightly, they probably beat South Florida by 30 today. But the problem is that I don't know from a motivational perspective if they're just going to be up enough. I mean, they're going to win this game. So, I don't know if they're going to be up enough to want to pull this team out today. But overall, I would probably lean the other way ASAP just because statistically, Houston's just so much better than this team. And Houston just blows teams out like this all the time. But again, motivation-wise, I can't blame you for taking the 17.
Joe's talking about first half Maryland. Do we want to mess with that?
I mean, that's pretty ballsy. Again, any stepping in front of this Michigan State team right now is just not fun. Don't get me wrong, it's a home Big Ten team, so I don't mind the first half look, but yeah, not exactly a spot I personally love. But I can't mind it. I just think you got a big pair of balls, stepping in front of Michigan State right now. And hey, look, kudos, especially if it hits.
Yes, especially if it hits. Any other questions, guys? Yeah, Bobby M. Spring training starting today. I'm excited about this, dude. I'm really. I got it, JJ. You didn't know this, but I'm working with Joey Work. We got to do a baseball show once a week, man. That's all I'll say.
Do it.
Not bailing on you, but what the hell are we doing during the summer? I'm not talking tennis for 3 fucking months with you. Sometimes
I mean, why do we need the tennis slander? I mean, what did tennis?
I mean, what else? Listen, it's fine, but I'm not going to sit here and grind tennis with you for the summer. What are we going to do over the summer? I'm sure we'll have stuff, but
we could do a I don't know when you're going to do the Joey baseball show, but we could also have a baseball show on Sunday mornings like we do with these.
Maybe we should throw Joey on there with us. Maybe we just
go get a third perspective. Add him to the Thunderdome.
Yeah, because then I don't have to do 2 shows. Then I can just do 1 with you guys. That's totally awesome. I love it. You covered what I needed. Thanks, guys. Don't go anywhere, Chris. Don't go anywhere. Come on,
Chris. There's still an extra 10 minutes or so for Holden to talk about his sexcapades over the last week and a half.
All right. So listen, he says it jokingly, but he also looks very serious. If you have any more college basketball questions, please place them in the chat. I don't think our listeners or our viewers deserve my sexcapades this week. It's dirty. It's slightly unsafe. So that's all I'll say about that. I don't want to build it up too much. Anything else college basketball wise we got today? I was just looking at the bet sheet. This is a free show, right? So I don't want to give any of these other picks up, but we got a lot going on the bet sheet today. I like it. I like it a lot.
Okay. Bet sheet for a Sunday. Bet sheet's pretty heavy today.
The bet sheet is very heavy today. I mean, I even there was one not on the sheet. I even got a golf future for today, like a winner. So
Steve brings up a good question, Holden. I think he's asking you, not me. Did you manscape?
I use Manscaped to start, but to really get to where you need to be, you need to use a razor. Manscaping is great for cleaning up. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Lawnmower 8.0. It goes by itself. But yeah, I mean, I need to use both of them. So thank you, Steve, for asking. You also live your sex life vicariously through me? Get out of here. That's crazy.
Yeah, you see me and Chris. All right.
How graphic should I get? I mean, this is a free show, so I don't know how graphic, but this is going to be a sex story. You guys ask, and I'm going to give it to you since we're done with our picks. Please, will you push me in a direction here? Just ask me a question so I can start, or is this a horrible idea?
You want me to ask them instead? Like, do you want me to ask on behalf of the chat?
Yes. And the other thing I'll say is that JJ, before we came on, was talking about draft picks, just so you know.
Okay, so
I don't know why.
That doesn't put it into context, though. That doesn't put it into context.
I don't think we need context.
You started talking about banging ponies.
I mean, just because it's illegal.
So
hold on. We got college basketball questions. We got to get to those before this. We do. We have to. It's a college basketball show. Princess. Choo.
Yeah. So FIU Western Kentucky. I think it's a pretty good spot for Western Kentucky to bounce back of sorts. So I think you get a lot of scoring from them. The question mark becomes on FIU scoring, but FIU is going to speed Western Kentucky up. So overall, I think you get a good scoring output from Western Kentucky. As far as FIU goes, they're the biggest question mark coming into that game. Should we jump on Nova Moneyline? It's not even a game I've been following. Obviously, I've been doing this show, so I don't even. What's the score?
It's 29-20 Butler. Butler was plus 11.5 coming into the game. I really studied this game. I mean, personally, I don't like it. Conference game here. Villanova, heavily favored. I would not be surprised if they came back and won this thing, but 9 points, you're actually getting a better number than the pregame number, right?
Well, is it actually halftime yet?
2 minutes left.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe halftime. We see if we jump in.
All right.
But yeah, so all I said to Holden before the show, because Holden was like, yeah, been an up and down week, kind of been questioning, what I'm thinking about betting coming into today in general. And I'm like, Holden, sometimes you just got to get back on the horse, And he was like, horses. Nah. What are you talking about? Why not ponies?
Much easier to handle.
Yeah. I'm like, what does this have to do with pony? I'm like, it's a saying. I mean, what are we talking about? And then ultimately Holden brought up giraffes. And then the conversation just got out of control. Would you disagree?
Well, I mean, it's your fault. You told me to go look at a picture of a giraffe dick. You know,
no.
Disgusting.
I didn't say. I said to you, giraffes have bigger dicks than horses. And
check out that photo.
And you said, I don't believe it. I'm going to look.
Here's the link. Here's the link.
I didn't give you the link.
Yeah.
I just said it's I'm abreast to that type of knowledge, and I just wanted to share it.
Some places there's donkey shows. Some places in the world there's giraffe shows. I don't want to see a giraffe show. Laughing my ass off. Jordan has Nova minus 10.5. Fear nothing. Nova plus 114. Nova's minus 1.5 plus 107. Leonard. So I guess everybody's on Nova here. You know, the chat's on Nova, man.
Yeah, I think I'll wait to see if halftime something pops up. But I will say this: Butler for the season has been a much better second half team than first half team. So it's not exactly loving to know that Nova's going to have to come out of this jam against a team that's relatively much better in second halves of games versus first halves.
Yeah, not bad. I like it. Now it's what, 31-20 with $1.28 to play in the first half. So
there'll be some value if we can get at halftime and Nova can get like +4, +4.5. There'll be some value.
Plus there. Money on Nova, huh? Yeah,
well, definitely plus the points. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think they can definitely make this a game late. Especially, I haven't been watching the game. That's the problem. Like, I don't even know if they're getting good looks and they're just missing them, or if Butler's really being stout, or if Nova just looks tired. So it's kind of tough to say. You know, almost go to borderline going in blind. But
Nova plus 2.5 with a minute to go, down 11, and then plus 118 on the money line. I mean, they're down 11, but I feel like you're not going to cover the pregame number at this point. You never know.
You never know. But yeah,
last night, did you watch Gonzaga? Do you stay up to watch Gonzaga?
I was long tucked in.
Yeah, I'm usually doing a show when Gonzaga's playing every Saturday night, and that was a tilting game because Loyola had the lead. I think for the first, for the most part, 13, 14 minutes, they really owned that game. And then I saw the line go to 21. I'm like, oh, I got to get in on this. And then, of course, senior night, man, they're pulling their starters out earlier than normal. And then I get the backdoor loss. So that was a little frustrating too.
Here's an interesting look, though, especially if let's hypothetically say this. No, and again, I'm not watching the game. I don't have it in front of me specifically, but let's hypothetically say that the game starts, the first half ends and Nova's down 11. Mm-hmm. There's probably some true inherent value in taking Butler's team total over for the second half. Because unless Butler blows this team out, there has potential for Butler to be adding an extra 8 to 10 free throws at the end of this game. And Nova's going to speed this game up in the second half, especially if they're down later. And I know Butler's going to try to slow this down, but Nova's definitely going to aim to speed this up with quicker threes. So, like I said, I think there would be some inherent value, especially if that second half total for Butler, which based on this pregame line and based on their current score, the second half line for Butler's team total should be about 29.5-ish, which for me would have some inherent value.
Why? All right. So this is kind of fun because we usually don't get to do like live betting stuff when we're on here. So why would you lay minus 125 juice at plus 3.5? Just like JJ said, wait for halftime, man. See what you can get. I mean, who knows? Butler puts up another bucket here. They go into the half, by 12. I don't. Maybe you get that 4 points.
Yeah, to me, it's very similar to like wanting to bet an NFL game, mid-series, or you want to bet a baseball game mid-inning. Like to me, just wait till the inning's over, or wait till the punt or something happens, or and for me, mid-possession like this, something. I mean, don't get me wrong, something good could happen in your favor, but something also bad could happen. It's a minute left. Any type of variance could happen. Just wait till halftime, and then get the number you want to get then.
Princess, if you wanted to hop on this, it's 3.5 minus 115 on BetMGM. So if that's where you wanted to go, again, I think JJ's Butler. Oh, here we go, 34-24 at the half. Nova plus 3.5 minus 115 plus 145 on the money line. How about that? That's a bet I'd rather take. I mean, if you think Villanova's coming back and covering this thing, plus 3.5, why not take the money line at 145, JJ? Is that just out of control? Tell me why I'm wrong.
You're saying Nova money line in this game, correct?
Just take we're getting plus 145. I know they're down by 10. You guys have been watching this, so you would have a better feel for the game than I would. But now we're talking about a team that was an 11.5 point favorite, having one bad half. Why not go out and lay the money line at plus 145? Plus 3.5 is good too. But I can't imagine Nova getting blown out here.
It probably doesn't happen. But again, I haven't I assume people in here have watched this game. Has Butler been getting good looks? Like, have they been just making tough shots? Like, is that something that could call it variance median out? Because I'm looking here. Honestly, this pace played pretty quick. Looking at some of the box scores here. Now, Nova shoots 1 for 9 from 3. Sure, that's probably not gonna continue. But it looks like, Butler's making threes, which is definitely not in their MO. But overall, it seemed like a pretty clean first half. Like I said, to me, for Butler to shoot 43% and still wind up with 34 points and not a single free throw, to me, it has some value on their team total. Because they've already scored 34 against this team shooting relatively, I'd say below average. Don't get me wrong, Nova usually holds teams to around this percentage anyway. But I just personally think that it makes more sense for Nova's team total. So 64.5. Not Nova's team total, Butler's team total, 64.5. And I know it's above the pregame number. But again, if Nova's going to come back, unless you truly believe Nova's just going to go on like a 10-0 run to start this half, or 12-0 run, to me, that 31.5 from Butler is very live for them to score in this. Actually, 30.5 for them to score in the second half. It's on FanDuel, 64.5, minus 113.
Okay. Butler defense looks great, they're saying. Butler's looking forward to Creighton. I don't know about that. That 3.5 just went down to 1.5. So major money coming in on Villanova to cover this thing.
And again, I've seen this Butler team quite a lot this year. This is a Butler team who's erased 5 second half 10-point deficits this year. This Butler team plays much better in the second halves of games. Now, granted, they're not used to having a lead like this in the second half, especially against a good team. But for me, 30.5 from them. Because again, if Nova outscores this team by 7 over the next 18 minutes, you're going to get free throws from Butler late in this game. And Butler's has some guys that can convert those. They're not a great free throw shooting team, but they do have guys that shoot pretty well from there late in games if needed. So yeah, to me, that would be my look.
All right. Very good. Any other games you guys want to talk about? Hit us up in the chat. We can do that. Total over 70.5 minus 110 in the second half.
Yeah.
You just gave kind of a team total play more than anything else.
Yeah.
Don't talk about the Zags. Feared nothing. Got screwed with me on the Zags last night. Lost a ton on minus 17.5. Yeah, that was nasty, man. What was the other one? Was it Alabama yesterday? They're covering the spread. Was it Mississippi State? I want to say they're playing Mississippi State.
I know it was close late.
It was brutal. Alabama was minus 6.5. Mississippi State, this game's over. Kid hits a floater with like 3 seconds left. They inbound the ball. The two teams are talking with each other, saying, "Hey, great game," and everything. It's just that's the way shit goes. You just got to deal with it. Sometimes we get lucky. Sometimes we don't. I love luck. I love having luck on my side. Usually happens when you're on a hot streak, doesn't it, JJ?
Yes.
And everything's going against you. Nobody wants to hear my tales, which is great. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm done talking about my tales of sex. And you got any other questions? Go for it. Leave it at that.
Other than that, obviously, once I hop off this show, I'm going to debate a little further if I'm going to actually fully jump on that Butler team total. I typically hate jumping on lines that were worse or better pregame, but when you talk were lines that were better pregame, like Butler's team total coming into this game was probably about 57.5 or 56.5, so it's about 8 shaded high. But again, when you're trying to create a path to victory for Butler here, either they, which is very unlikely, either they blow this team out and they score 31 in the second half, or they get outscored by Nova by 7 or 8 over the first 15 to 18 minutes, and then Butler's free throws take them over this number. Or the alternative is Butler goes ice cold and Nova beats them in a game that winds up being, whatever it is, 60-50, and they have a very low output in the second half. I just think it makes a lot more sense for 31 points from Butler in the second half, all things considered. It has more to do with Nova's score and Butler's score for why I like it.
Very good. Love it. All right, guys. I'm not seeing anything. You do want my Tales of Tales? I don't know. 2 straight weeks I can't do it. We already talked about giraffe dicks and donkeys, so I think we went blue enough, JJ.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I'll have to do something else with this massive erection I have under the table waiting for your story.
Are you really?
Well, I told you, I'm like a field mouse, though. It's not massive in the sense of if there's a few mouse around me.
Yeah, but your girlfriend said is she your fiance? Your fiance said that she that wasn't the case. She said you're talking yourself down.
Well, we all tell people things they want to hear, right?
Yeah, Leonard's just like, this is a whole new show. Later, guys. All right, let's get out of here. I'll just leave you with this. I went straight for the game. Okay, so what do we got going on here? We're done. We're going to do this next week. We got a whole bunch of college basketball stuff at Run Pure. Can you just give a plug for people to sign up already since this is a free show?
Yeah, of course,
dude.
Ultimately, code BETCH25 off, $15 for the week. I always tell people to try the week because ultimately the week gets you the Discord, the week gets you all our private content. I do about 2 or 3 videos for the subs a week myself. We have a guy for every sport, multiple Discord chats for each sport room. But overall, runpurebets.com, BETCH25 off is the code. And you'll be able to get everything. And ultimately, the Discord's probably worth more than money on its own for all the chat you have. I do all my write-ups for my games in the Discord. And a lot of our private content all gets posted there as well. I'm
going to give a second shout out to this guy, HTP. You know HTP? Did you hire him?
I was part of the crew. Yeah,
he is in our Discord. He has been crushing NBA props. And I just learned he's in Lithuania on top of it. Did you know that?
Yes.
He grew up with Arvydas Sabonis, dude. He grew up with Lithuania being the second greatest basketball team in the world that just couldn't hang with the dream team, man. This guy is for real. So I'm in there. I like HTP. I don't know where you dug this dude up. I don't know if you went to Lithuania to like recruit him or something. How did you find a dude in Lithuania? Seriously.
I'll tell you what, you know how I know he's in Lithuania? When I shipped him 2 shirts. I learned pretty quickly.
Seriously?
I learned pretty quickly how far Lithuania is.
Has he got the shirts yet?
Oh, he probably won't get them for another 2 weeks, but you learn quickly how far away the place is from you.
I'm giving him a shout out. You've been doing a baseball futures show, Bobby. Just sure, I'll do. Seriously, I will do whatever baseball show you want.
Yeah, Joey, we all did one last year, so we'll definitely do another future show with Joey, with Holden. We'll definitely hook it up, and then the guy score with D as well, talking soccer as well has been great. So overall, it's been a lot of good stuff, especially in the Discord. So like I said, I would say it's $15. What's the worst that can happen? What
was the shipping? Good question, Leonard. What was the shipping to send something to Lithuania?
It was $140, I think. $140, $135.
$135 to send them T-shirts?
Yeah, at the UPS.
Fucking go print them himself over there. Send them
at the UPS store. Yeah, I basically asked the person, like, "You guys give me Vaseline with this? Like, how does this work?"
I mean, Big T complains about having to go to FedEx. You had to go to the UPS store to send something to Lithuania, man.
Yeah, it's
$130. It's not cool. All right, we're done. Why don't you take us out?
Yeah. All right. So thanks everybody for hopping in. Thanks for the comments as well along. My best bet, Cincy plus the 4.5. Holden likes Ohio State full game minus the 2.5, right?
2.5 and then 1 in the first half. Yeah.
So first half full game. We talked on a few other games as well. I might be hopping in on this Butler team total, which I'll know right after this video. But yeah, ultimately, thanks again for hanging out. We'll be back next week. And then after that, it's more conference tournaments and more March Madness. But we'll be here every Sunday through March Madness. We'll also have a few more of these shows, probably almost daily for each round of the tournament. So that'll be fun as well. But as always, folks, gamble responsibly. And look, stay safe, folks. We'll be back next time.